for sure. Well, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer John Fogerty back on stage tonight over at the Wynn.
And for fans who go to see the legendary musician, it's going to be a show that's been impossible to experience up until now. That's thanks to the addition of Fogerty's prized possession that had been missing for almost 50 years.
With chart-topping hits that defined a generation, John Fogerty is back in Las Vegas. After a highly successful run of shows on the Strip last year, Fogerty is staging a new series of concerts at the Wynn.
You never know how rock and roll will translate to the home of Frank Sinatra.
It's translated extremely well, and with the new show comes a new addition.
Probably the most important change that has happened really is getting back my old guitar here.
It's a Rickenbacker that Fogerty originally bought in 1969. As it happens, this instrument was a hit maker.
This was the guitar that was part of all my Creedence hits. I wrote those songs on this guitar and recorded with this guitar.
Unhappy with its factory condition, Fogerty made some customizations of his own.
I put basically a Gibson humbucker pickup in the bridge position, and I put a Bigsby for what we call the whammy bar, and I changed where it normally says Rickenbacker here, I painted Acme. I actually did that with my own hand, did that almost 50 years ago.
But as Creedence Clearwater Revival was breaking up in the early 70s, Fogerty did something with his customized guitar full of history that now seems a little bit crazy.
There were these two young boys, two kids were hanging out at the factory where Creedence rehearsed. One day one of the kids said, "Well, can I have one of your guitars?" And I went, "Sure." And I ended up giving him this guitar.
Wow.
I think that speaks volumes about my mental state at the time.
It was a time as Fogerty was realizing that the contract he'd signed with Fantasy Records was not at all in his interest.
They owned all my songs forever, and so I think I was just really, and life just seemed to be unraveling. I cannot imagine, as I sit here now, a person, a musician who's had some fame with his music, his craft, giving away his most important, his most famous guitar, and the one that he's made so personal. I mean, it's,
Since that day in 1973, Fogerty only ever saw this guitar one other time. That was in the mid-90s in a music shop, but the asking price was $40,000, an amount he wasn't willing to pay at the time.
I really didn't think much more about it, and one day we're driving in the car, kind of doing the traffic, and honey, I'd kind of like to get that guitar back. I think it's important that I have my guitar back. And she goes, yeah. I never heard another word about it.
That is until Christmas morning 2016. This is the present that waited for Fogerty.
They said, honey, am I about to be overwhelmed here? I open it up, and there it is. Wow. And oh, honey. It's just like, I started to tear up, and finally I kind of could. I gave her a big kiss. I couldn't say much. And it was the kind of the closure, the completion of a beautiful journey.
Reunited after nearly 45 years. Now back on stage together, John Fogerty and his Acme guitar making those hit songs rock right here in Las Vegas.
Such a cool